Saturday, we've got that BTC Nashville conference where Trump will be speaking at. And there's speculation that another big name in sort of the world will be speaking there as well.
But meme coins, like, it's something that maybe is quite misunderstood at the moment. It doesn't matter what we all individually think. It's like, what does the group as a collective think? If we're seeing continued value and the overall trading volumes continue to go higher, who are we to say that something should or shouldn't exist?
Exactly, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Tapping Into Crypto. I'm Pav, and with me,
I'm Ted.
Ted.
Thanks for doing the intro, Pav.
Anytime.
Bit of work to be done, but that's okay.
Oh, it's rusty.
Yeah, that's all right. Pav, what's new with you?
What's new? You got a wedding this week. That's coming up.
Yep.
Starts tonight. Goes
Beautiful.
for 5 days. That's pretty much it for the week for me.
Mate, I'm surprised you're doing anything outside of crypto, given how good the market's looking this week.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. We've moved a lot very quickly, but I guess I'm just happy I can still surprise you, mate.
Mate, you're full of surprise, and that's why we love you.
Yeah.
But look, we've got a big episode. We're obviously going to touch on the state of the market. Look, there's a lot of key things happening in the macro space, which I know you love to cover. Then we're looking at the top movers. Of course, meme coins up there again, and we're going to run through a big report that Swyftx did on meme coins and kind of try and analyze how to pick meme coins and why sort of they move the way they do. And then we'll jump into some of the key news surrounding a big event that's happening later in the week. That you won't want to miss. So let's dive straight into it. Pav, kick us off with your thoughts on the market.
It's been good. From where we were last week, we just continue to push higher. A lot of reasons, which I'll dive into right now. But I mean, let's just take a minute to just appreciate the fact that within 2 weeks, we've basically undone 114 days worth of selling.
Yeah. How good is that?
How good is that? Like, since the bottom here, we're looking Bitcoin's just, anywhere between 15 to 17% up, just doing a quick measurement. It's really good to see. So I guess the real question on everyone's lips right now is like, are we going to keep going? Is this a pause? I honestly think the next few days are pretty critical. Numerous reasons. So first we have the spot ETF for Ethereum going live tomorrow. It's
finally
confirmed.
Finally.
It's happening. So we've all seen in the past, well, I guess all and past the one time, most recently when we've learned anything from the Bitcoin ETF approval was that there was a rally into the news, and we did see a bit of a sell-off after the news, which was quickly brought up 1 or 2 weeks later. And you can attribute this to a lot of things, but let's just potentially call it that the market's been speculating. This has been coming for some time. It's just put a bit of momentum behind the market now. So if we see some sort of stalling, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it where we are now. And I've got this area marked out on the charts currently. You can come check it out with us on YouTube if you're wondering what charts we're talking about. But there's essentially this key low before we broke down that is on a daily chart here between 69 and 66K. This is the kind of window that I'd be looking for price to start to turn around. So again, you can look at this chart within the last within 4 seconds, you can see that we've been going nothing but up. So if we start to go sideways and start to begin to turn down, I wouldn't be surprised if we do then start to maybe retest some of these other prior lows. So my next target from here would be like 66, 65 region. And then even the potential of going as far as like 63, I still think that's bullish, and that would be quite nice and healthy to go down there and retest that. I think that a lot of it will come down to the ETF flows from Ethereum, from Bitcoin. It's all going to have a knock-on effect on the sentiment in the market. I mean, let's just look at, for example, the Bitcoin ETF flows into last week. We had another major buy day, the last business day. We're still waiting on last night's data to come through. But if we look at Friday last week, $427 million purchased again. So just, again, this average is now pushed up for the average daily flows for the Bitcoin ETF. Last week it was sitting at 124. That's now popped up to 130. So we've seen that sort of velocity across the ETFs that it's actually bumping up the overall running averages.
So just last week we had 3 days over 300 mil, which is huge, right?
Massive, right? Yeah. And there's the flows aren't out yet, but the volumes so far suggest that the IBIT product had $500 million worth of volume go through last night. So we'll find out at the end of the settlement, which would probably be 2 p.m. Aussie time on a Tuesday. What was the actual buy versus sell? And we'll get the net flow as a result, which is what this table shows. But we'll soon start to see the Ethereum ETF populate on this chart as well. So farside.co.uk, free website. You guys can go check it out yourself at home if you're like me and crypto is your life. Yeah, we can start to track to see how that's performing as well. And it'll answer the all-important question, is the ETF going to be a dump or a pump? I think that's what we're waiting to see. But yeah, end of the day, next few days are critical. In terms of like key macro news, we have GDP data coming out on Thursday. So when the podcast releases, I think it'll have pretty minimal impact, but may drive some sort of velocity. I think everything's all about the ETFs right now from what I'm seeing from just sentiment socially. As well as the charts, we're starting to slow down. As you can see, the last few days have been smaller and smaller as we've approached this ETF sort of D-Day. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you said, it's a massive week. We've got ETFs coming tomorrow, like US time, so Tuesday. Thursday, we've got that GDP data, as you mentioned. Friday, we've got PCE data, which I know you like to look at sometimes. And then Saturday, we've got that BTC Nashville conference where Trump will be speaking at. And there's speculation that another big name in sort of the world will be speaking there as well, but we'll touch on that later in the show.
Yeah, don't give it all away.
Yeah, of course. Got to keep them on their toes.
That's it.
But look, mate, I wanted to touch on a few things just before we dive into the top movers. So we've spoken a bit about Mt. Gox over the last sort of month or two. The German government kind of took the headlines for a little while because they were selling off a lot of their Bitcoin, but now they've officially sold off all of it. And now, I guess, if you're looking at a sell-side pressure perspective, like all eyes are on Mt. Gox, and we've spoken about how Mt. Gox distributions are meant to happen in July. They've actually started to move. So I think about around 43,000 Bitcoin was sent to Kraken, US exchange, which is about $3 billion. They've basically been entrusted with distributing that to the creditors. Okay. So it's not the entire amount. I think the entire amount's around $9 billion, so it's about a third of the amount.
Probably worth more now.
Yeah, exactly. But just keep that in mind because that could create some sell-side pressure. More so, I think, from the perspective of like fear and FUD, because we've seen from the ETFs there's huge inflows coming in that probably outdo what's being distributed and sold off. But it's more people getting, like we saw with the German government selling off. Like the whole sentiment around it is somewhat negative. So wouldn't be surprised if that creates a bit of volatility for the market. But look, I think at the end of the day, we saw with Germany, things just came back pretty quickly. So maybe we might see a little bit of downside volatility, but I don't think it's going to last long given the...
How do you reckon the German government's feeling right now?
Probably wishing they held on for a couple more weeks.
Pants down their ankles?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to... So we talk about global liquidity. Yeah, this is probably more in line with what you talk about often with your macro analysis, the stuff that I usually fall asleep for. But I like this chart because it puts it in a real simple way. We're comparing like how global liquidity affects the crypto market. So this is a nice chart we're looking at here. Shows the crypto market in just like a real simple, ebbs and flows, up and down type line on this chart, and then it shows the global liquidity going up and down, quite similar to how sort of the crypto market works. So as you can see in the last bull run in 2021, we saw that huge spike in liquidity, and then as that started to taper off, we saw the downside in the crypto market, and now we're just starting to see that sort of turn around, and that same with the crypto market is turning around, and we're just at the start. So we're probably about, on this chart, a fourth of the way up, and it kind of suggests that given these ebbs and flows with global liquidity, we're looking at sort of a market peak towards the end of 2025. Obviously, this isn't the only indicator we look at.
Yeah, well, the more capital that's available, the more that assets as a whole can move. It's not just crypto specific, but we definitely feel the tailwinds of what's happening in the globe, right? Like it's more to the world than crypto.
Is it?
Wow.
Not to us.
I don't like to think so. This is very juicy. It makes you feel pretty good about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move into the top movers.
Top movers.
Week. What are you seeing, Ted?
Oh, it's good to see a bit of red and green in there, showing like a healthy market, because most weeks in the recent past, we've just seen either a sea of red or a sea of green, probably an even split of both. We're seeing some big green bubbles with the likes of Swyftx, and also Helium Core in there as well. But I think from a narrative perspective, always there is the meme coins.
Honestly, let's just rinse and repeat week after week. So this is the week I think we talked about last time that we'd wanted to see what this would look like, because last week everything was green because it was just bouncing off the bottoms. Now we're starting to see what's likely running ahead of the rest of its peers. And like you said, it's all infrastructure mainly. Starting to see Dogecoin. I don't know if you saw, but that's reclaimed a pretty significant key low level. So I'm pretty interested to see what that does.
Potentially in regards to some news we'll cover off later in the show.
Maybe. XRP is another call out, and just referring back to like what we've seen previous cycles as well. It's usually when those higher caps start to run and put in, I guess, prices back to their previous highs, we start to bring back a lot of the
Yeah.
People that bought last cycle maybe at a bit too high prices,
Yeah.
moving into break even. That's
Build
what
up the
people
courage to look at their portfolio.
Exactly.
First time in a couple of years.
It's not so
Yep.
painful anymore. So I think
Yep.
that's a big part of just adoption and people coming back to the market. To be honest, I think we're still quite early. Again, we're just seeing meme coins be a concurrent theme. My still hot take on that is like we'll see a massive blow off top on probably meme coins first, just because they have been running so early ahead of the rest of the market categories. But again, I think the one thing we should shout out is Beam.
Yep.
I know we've been following Beam since like December last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in one of our top picks for this year. It might have been yours or mine. I can't remember now. We did that episode with the Investified guys. But again, it's showing that for a product that's nearing launch date, like it's definitely in demand from the market, it seems. We're starting to see that one continue to perform pretty modestly as well. And then OM still appearing, not a huge presence there, but the real world assets narrative is there in the background a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, infrastructure, meme coins, a tiny bit of gaming, a tiny bit of real world assets.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we always talk about meme coins, but we don't really do too much of a deep dive because there's not much to deep dive.
Well, should we change that?
Yeah, I thought we'd do something different today. So Swyftx put out this report that Pav and I worked on as well. It kind of tries to provide a little bit of perspective around the value that meme coins have and where you can find any sort of value, because often they are just speculative in nature and they're more for entertainment. But as we've seen, like they're a huge part of this cycle and a huge part of crypto as a whole.
Yeah, and one thing that the cycle, I think, if we're trying to note some sort of trend, they've started as a meme coin, just a social token, and then they throw on some actual use case utility afterwards.
Yep.
So this is where like sort of paying attention can be quite good. And,
we've got this chart here. The data's from CoinMarketCap, but it shows that meme coins, as like looking at crypto categories as a whole, meme coins has been the top category for basically every month this year. So you're seeing that at the top there. The Solana ecosystem tends to be sort of the second biggest. It might have been the biggest in one of those months, but it just shows meme coins are just a huge engine and no signs of slowing down there. But yeah, this next chart kind of shows like meme coins compared to other cryptocurrencies. So other cryptocurrencies, the idea is like they're providing some sort of use case, application, and incentivizing users, right? Whereas meme coins are more speculative in nature and for entertainment purposes. So where does the value come in, right? Why would someone, invest in a meme coin over something that provides or intends to provide a use case or an application other than it being fun? And I think it just comes down to community. And the community tends to be on social media. And then the enthusiasm builds for these sorts of things. So hype, community, social media, buzz around these things because they're fun and they're a lot more easy to understand than some of these like more techie blockchain projects. So I think that's kind of where it comes down to it. Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, definitely. There was a nice little research paper done by Franklin Templeton, big name on Jane Street or Wall Street, one of the two. Looked at it, what are the behavioral characteristics of meme coins and why do they even run? And their data showed that essentially in the early parts of previous cycles that meme coins really have their time in the sun. Particularly because it's mainly new chains or existing chains and it's all the current users on there just re-engaging. And it's just how early adopters on layer ones or layer twos in some cases, that's just what they do, unfortunately. Like it's just a behavioral sort of heuristic almost. So there's another big draw card to meme coins as well that I think gets shouted about enough. It's also the fact that, again, like you mentioned, there's no VCs or big giants behind these projects. It's purely community driven. And a lot of, you think about crypto and decentralized communities, etc. I mean, it is all that at the end of the day. It's a community. So if there's not people supporting each other, that these chains are pretty inactive. And there's a heap out there that we could shout out, but let's talk about the ones that have done it well, like Solana, like Ethereum. They have an ongoing online presence with a community that's always looking to make it better. Like that's as good as anything gets, right? So that's where we're seeing also the meme coins be the strongest. So it's not a coincidence. Like it basically describes almost the health of how well one of the chains are going. So.
And when it comes to like VCs, the idea is that's favorable because the bulk of the supply isn't locked up with these VCs who are looking to sell because they got in a much lower price than say you or me.
Pretty much.
And then like say with another project like Sui, like that had early investors at a seed round before it even went public where you and I could buy it. And then those investors obviously like up 10x while we're up 2 or 3x. And so they're in a much more better position looking to sell potentially.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really happen with these meme coins.
Yeah, and that definitely affects when the time comes, just the overall trend that the asset can go through. Like it might run up very strong for a certain period of time, and then maybe once they're done and they're selling, they'd have no reason to make a market and push it higher.
Yep.
Look, there's a lot of things we can speculate there till the cows come home. But yeah, I think for meme coins, like it's something that maybe is quite misunderstood at the moment. Like I used to definitely boo-boo it a lot more back in the day, but I'm starting to see, I guess, more... It doesn't matter what we all individually think. It's like what does the group as a collective think?
Yeah.
And if we're seeing continued value and the overall trading volumes continue to go higher, who are we to say that something should or shouldn't exist?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just want to touch on something. If you scroll down a little bit on this report, so we've got a little bit of a graphic here that shows like what meme coins belong to what chains.
Yep.
As you can see, they're dominated by Solana and Ethereum. Solana in particular have some of the new ones. So the ones that have knocked it out of the park, obviously this cycle have been Dog with Hat, Bonk, Popcat is even there, and the other ones like Wen, Ponky, and Book of Meme, that they've all been kind of like key ones in the spotlights, ones that we list on Swyftx as well. Ethereum sort of is home to some of the older meme coins, I guess you could say, if you could even call Pepe an older meme coin. I think it launched
pretty recent.
I think it launched last
just over 12
year.
months.
Yeah. But like the likes of Shiba, that's obviously last cycle. Same with Baby Doge and Floki Inu. Turbo's a bit of a new one.
Yep.
But from this, it looks like that any new meme coins looking to launch, Solana seems to be the chain to go on.
Yep.
We're seeing Avalanche as well. That's got a interesting one on there. I won't say the name of it, but the ticker is COQ.
Yep.
Dogecoin, like the original meme coin, like that's got to be called out here because that uses its own chain. It's a hard fork of the Bitcoin blockchain from years ago. And then Base Chain, the Coinbase layer 2 on Ethereum, that's got a new meme coin called Brett.
Got a few more too.
Yeah, it's got a few more.
Toshi's another one, but yeah, that's a good shout out. Like again, what you've just described here also just perfectly describes what's the daily active user counts on these chains as well. Like you're definitely seeing Solana lead the way, close by Ethereum, and we're not really seeing much adoption through the other chains at this stage.
No, exactly, and I think that's a good sort of adoption. Or getting a perspective on adoption of a certain chain, because we see so many layer ones, but are people actually using these outside of the developers and whatnot?
It's another way to vet your chains.
That's it.
That's good, mate. But I recommend everyone go check this out. It's a free report you can download. It's a PDF version too if you prefer that. But really just diving into, again, this further fundamentals, what differentiates them all, how to find your own meme coins as well, and also the understanding the risk, because obviously there's very relevant in recent times, seeing these things, as much as they can go up 300%, 400%, 500%, they can easily retrace 80% on a classic 20% retrace on Bitcoin. So
absolutely. We'll be sure to chuck that link in the show notes for you guys.
But let's move on. What do we got?
Time for news headlines, I believe. So we've been sort of, teasing everyone about, who that person could be at the Bitcoin conference. This is purely speculation, and I've just seen an update that probably, rejects the idea that he's going to be there. But the person is Elon Musk. You know him, you love him. He's basically updated his Twitter post Biden basically stepping down as president to the laser eyes. Remember the laser eyes from from last cycle? Everyone was doing laser eyes to basically show their support for crypto. It's kind of a bit of a meme on Twitter. Elon Musk has updated his Twitter profile to that. So everyone's getting a bit hyped about that. Potentially a reason for the Dogecoin rally recently. But what's interesting is, like people track his jet movements.
No.
Okay. So anyway, there's like a Twitter page that like tracks everywhere his jet goes, because it's like, I guess it's publicly available to somewhere. And so someone's posting his jet movements. Yeah.
Jesus.
And he was recently, until yesterday, in Austin, Texas, which is where the Bitcoin 2024 conference is happening and where Donald Trump will be speaking. Obviously, that's a huge name, that likely future president of the United States speaking.
Big orange man for the big orange coin.
That's it. And then can you imagine if Elon was there as well? Because Elon's come out in huge support of Trump in like probably since the assassination attempt. So, man, that would just melt the internet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but I just checked before this on that Twitter page. They provided an update that he's actually flown out of Austin into Memphis or somewhere. So, unfortunately, doesn't look like the case. But I think that's the Bitcoin conference is going to be sort of like a key one to watch, because, there might be some major announcements. I think everyone will be looking out for what Trump says about it, whether he comes off overly bullish, maybe he comes in, somewhat of a negative sentiment towards Bitcoin. Who knows?
We'll see.
But I think that'll cause or trigger a bit of volatility in the market.
Good shout. We got some other updates about Gary Gensler likely to resign in 2025 after Biden exit. So a bit of a research report by 10X. They put out some pretty good stuff.
The CEO and founder is speculating that Gensler will resign basically after Biden leaves, assuming that Trump is the new president.
Yeah.
We don't like to talk politics, but Gensler is, sometimes. Gensler is, his term ends in like mid-2026, so the fact that he would resign early next year would be an indication that he's not wanted there. Obviously, Gensler's been quite, a foe of the crypto industry, you could say. So that may be a bullish story there.
Yep.
But look, I think there's the bullish stories just keep coming, don't they?
I don't know what usually comes next. Another country accepting Bitcoin. It's usually the next news story.
Yeah, I think potentially what did we see last cycle? We saw Tesla saying that
Tesla
accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what is the progression of that? Because that would
Twitter accepting Dogecoin or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting.
Very interesting.
All right. So to wrap up, let's talk all things tipping.
You sure?
I'm just going to cop it on the chin, mate. Took a loss again this week. So Ted, you've outbested me. What? That's like 3 weeks in a row now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Damn. So I had Popcat, Lido DAO, and Pepe, and finished up with an account balance of 10,162 just before the show started. Really didn't do too well compared to you, mate. You went all risk. And how'd you go?
Yeah, I went all risk.
Yes, I did too.
Look, I'm starting to lose count of my wins these days. They just keep piling up.
I don't think your head's going to fit through the door next episode.
No, probably not. But look, I went for Jupiter, Bonk, and Ronin. Jupiter was my biggest there.
Yeah, good
Bonk,
job.
Bonk did okay, and Ronin,
Not too much.
yeah, just kind of nothing. But ended on 11,000, so that came down a little bit. I think I was at almost 12,000 at some point earlier in the week.
Well done.
It was a good week for me. But honestly, I don't even know if I need to. I could just bloody close my eyes and point and still beat you these days. So,
Gotta let you have it. It's fine.
but look, I'm keen to hear what you're doing this week.
I just think where we are right now, and I can't pick them to save my life. I'm just going to take a bit more of a defensive strategy. So go on Bitcoin, ETH, and just a stable coin. Equal splits. I do think it's a great time to cool off, but at the same time, if we just keep seeing relentless buying on ETFs, we're just going to keep going higher. Like I also think as much as we could go lower, there's nothing stopping us just going in a flash to like 80K. Like new all-time highs. No one's expecting it. Boom. We can easily get there. So I'm just going to have to take a risk. I'm going to just go between those three and see where I land next week.
Interesting.
How about yourself, mate?
I'm going to go BTC as well, purely because of the conference. I think there's going to be some huge announcements there. Just Trump speaking there is probably going to
Do enough,
trigger
right?
some volatility. Then I'm going to go Dog. So Dog is a meme coin on the Runes protocol. Runes is part of the whole layer 2 on Bitcoin ecosystem. They've got some there's some key ordinals and Rune speakers at Bitcoin 2024 as well.
Okay.
So they might announce some big things. That's speculating, but even just Bitcoin sort of leading the challenge there will probably favor the Bitcoin ecosystem as well there. And then lastly, I'm going Pepe. Meme coins, absolutely killing it at the moment. So Pepe is an ETH beta. We've said before, with Ethereum ETFs going live this week, I think it could do quite well. So that's my three.
No, I love it, mate. I think if the market holds up, you got another win on your belt coming. So
it's all right. I'm used to it now.
yeah, I was going to say, just get another walk in the park here.
You'll just look at me like I hate you.
Yeah,
so
pretty much. Yeah, very, very much so.
That's all right, mates.
Well, that's what it's all about.
That's it.
Bit of friendly hatred.
That's what we do.
It's what we do.
Shall we leave it there, Pav?
Let's do it, mate. Thanks, everyone. Be sure to check us out on YouTube if you haven't already. Appreciate the support, and we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Do it. Bye.